Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. This is episode 1 of season 10. Yay!
10!
And they said it wouldn't last.
Do we get what is the 10-year anniversary? What's the thing? I'm going to Google 10-year anniversary. I'm like, how would I know? Let's see. It is 10-year anniversary. God, just tell me what I want. 10.
10?
It's 10.
Well, then we should have had beers or something like that. Oh, well. Okay.
It's fine.
It's fine. It is what it is. Now, normally what we do is we do a quartet of creeps when we start a new season, but we decided to do something a little bit different today because we have two 90s creeps. They're tabloid creeps, and they're just enough for one episode.
Yeah, I think that's true.
Anything more would be overload. This is going to be one of those things. Either it's going to bring back memories for you, or God bless you if you're really young and you don't even know what we're talking about, or you're just from another country. You guys, I think you're going to really enjoy this either way because these tales are bananas.
They are, both of them. Bananas. Did I spell that right? I really hope so. I did. Phew.
I want to thank two people that joined our Patreon page, Rachel and Amy. We put out bonus episodes there, and we're going to be putting out another bonus episode this Friday. We'll drop on Saturday. We're really excited about that. Thank you for supporting the show. Also, thank you to the people who go, well, I guess if you go through our website, which is whatacreeppodcast.com, correct?
Correct. Everything you wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask.
It's all there, including the link to our Threadless page. So we have lots of merch that you can buy. You can show your support of our show, and that's a great place to do it. And also great places in iTunes. And if y'all like what you hear, please leave a review on iTunes. If you don't like what you hear, just leave us alone. There's so much out there.
Just go about your business.
Just go about what you're doing.
It's free.
Yeah.
It's free. It's fine.
We're on Facebook. We do have a basic Facebook page. We don't really do much with that, but we have a Facebook group. We're very active there. It's called What a Creep Podcast Group. It's a private group. So if you're interested in joining, put that in on the Facebook page. And if you don't look like a total creep or a freak or a weirdo or whatever, we'll most likely let you in. And we just talk about creeps there. And we talk about non-creeps too, in case you're wondering, because we all need something to cheer us up from time to time. We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep on Twitter for 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
We're on Instagram at What a Creep. And we keep promising, but we're going to definitely do an Instagram live, one of these days.
So it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. You know what? In March. I'm going to make it happen in March.
Okay.
Around my birthday, maybe.
Yeah. That would be super fun.
March 29th, everybody. Write that down.
I love it.
Okay. And our email is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Send us your comments and suggestions there, or if you would like some stickers, just send us an email. We'll send them wherever you are in the world. We just heard from somebody today. They're from Austria, and they were talking about the Larry Nassar stuff. Larry Nassar is coming up this season. But
yeah, he was already on the list.
Yeah, he was already on the list, and then everything went crazy today. It's about U.S. gymnastics, by the way. So, and we may even have our Jimmy Savile episode arrive this season.
Good job. Yes. Good job on that.
Instead of saying Seville, which is what I usually say. And I think I got everything. Can you think of anything, Sonia? Are we good to go?
I think we're good.
Okay. So we're talking about early 90s American tabloid creeps. And our first one today is Joey Buttafuoco.
What a creep.
The name alone became a punchline. Buttafuoco. Now, I picked this one because I grew up on Long Island. I don't know these people, but I know these people, if you know what I mean. Like, I understand
Yes, I do.
everything that's going on here. And I knew people had last names like Buttafuoco, and there's like a bunch of them. You're like, that's not a real name. Oh, it is. And
Yeah. And if I did this, I would just mispronounce all their names and upset everybody. So this is really for the best.
So we're going back to the summer of 1992. America was obsessed with this trashy tale from Long Island. That's how it's pronounced, in case you're wondering. About a murderous teenager and her dumb muscle pants wearing lover. This scandal had everything: sex, escort services, auto body shops, a Howard Stern interview, and secret videotapes, which the tabloid media covered breathlessly for over a year. Now they serve more as a footnote in Long Island history. And today I bring you our main creep, Joey Buttafuoco, with the help from our friends at Wikipedia, plus a book I read called Lethal Lolita, a true story of sex scandal and deadly obsession. It came out in 92, even before the trials and shit.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's a Reels channel you can get on Amazon. They have a show called Scandal Made Me Famous. To say that the reenactments feature really bad acting and bad wig work is, good God, is it really bad? But they do have good information there. And then there was also an article from Rolling Stone. I do want to give some trigger warnings: sexual assault, sexual grooming, and gun violence. It all begins on a beautiful May afternoon in 1992 in Massapequa, New York. And this is a town that is very Irish and Italian Catholic and also Jewish. 37-year-old Mary Jo Buttafuoco was having a good life there with her husband of almost 20 years, Joey, and their 2 young children. Mary Jo is in the backyard painting outdoor furniture when she hears the doorbell. She answers the door to see a young woman who was in casual clothes, had a baseball hat covering her hair, and it looked like she had a friend parked in a car in front of the house. The person calls herself Anne-Marie and tells her that her younger sister is having an affair with her husband, and she offered one of the T-shirts from the auto body shop as proof. Mary Jo questions this girl about the accusation, is totally not buying it. And then she says, tells her to go away. They have about a 15-minute conversation. Then she tells the girl to leave. She's about to go into her house to call her husband when the girl takes out a gun, an automatic weapon, and shoots Mary Jo right in the temple. Mary Jo her neighbors thankfully were nearby. She's airlifted to a hospital, and she wound up in a coma for 15 hours. She also lost a lot of blood. She's tough Irish, though. When she comes to, she basically tells her husband to get the police because she wants to give a description.
It's crazy that
Yes.
she survived that.
It's
insane.
unbelievable when you hear about it and you hear about her injuries. It's just, she is tough as shit. Anyways, she writes out on a pad of paper, "Girl, 19, auto shop." And Joey Buttafuoco and the police are there. He starts crying and he says, "I think she means Amy Fisher. She's this girl I've been seeing, and she lives in Merrick, Long Island, and she's been really obsessed with me lately." And this is like a few years after Fatal Attraction. So that was like one of the themes. Joey Buttafuoco was a long-time Massapequa resident who worked at an auto body shop owned by his father. He had a reputation for being a loving family man and also a dude who liked to party. At first, he told the police he was having sex with Amy since she was 16 years old. The age of consent in New York is 17, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But that she became too clingy for him and he wanted to move on. At this point in the story, Amy is a senior in high school at JFK High School. At first, the press was not that interested, but then the sleazier aspects of the case started coming out. It started as a Newsday story, so Newsday is the big paper for Long Island. And then, nothing happens on Long Island New York City really gives a shit about, unless it's something like this. And I say that as a Long Island person and a Brooklyn girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the time Amy is arrested, Amy is using her very long hair to shield her face. It's a very famous picture of her. It becomes such a popular image that it's the front page of the news in New York City and gets national coverage. As soon as it gets national coverage, all of a sudden Joey starts denying that he ever had sex with Amy. His new line is that they were just friends, but she was a customer of the shop, but she was so obsessed with him and he kept turning her down. So she kept crashing her car just so she could be around him. He also says that he heard that she was a call girl who worked for an escort service. So Amy, the narrative becomes Amy was just this crazy high school girl to now, oh, she's the sex crazed killer, fatal attraction kind of killer that she found Joey and she wanted to ruin his life because he wouldn't have sex with her. That's her whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out Amy did actually work for an escort agency and it was called ABBA, believe it or not. I'm not making that up.
Mamma mia.
Ay. She was the dancing queen. She used a fake ID to get the job. They basically gave her a beeper and she had to give the madam 20% of the cash that she got. And at the time, the beeper was a status symbol for kids. And if you know what a beeper is, look it up. But some people said that Amy would brag to kids in school about having cash and that she enjoyed sex, so she might as well get paid for it. The Long Island Lolita became the tagline, and the media ate it up. And
the name,
and it's like, okay. So it was a different time, you guys. It was 30 years ago. Amy was born in 1974, and she's an only child to her parents who ran, and I believe it was called Stitch and Sew, but it was this shop where you could go and get your furniture refurbished. And her dad handled the business stuff, and her mom did the actual sewing and stitching and needlework or whatever. And they did this at a reasonable price, and they just had this constant business going, and they did really well for themselves. But they were working 6 days a week, and it was just them. So Amy was left alone a lot, and she was also really, really spoiled. They bought her whatever she wanted because they felt guilty. What was not known publicly at the time was that Amy had a traumatic event when her family moved to a new home in Merrick when she was 12 years old. There were some workers at the house, and they were retiling the kitchen floor. Her parents were at the store. So Amy was alone, and these workers were there, and one of them raped her. In her mind, she felt so guilty about it, but that she decided in her head, first she decided that he seduced her, and then she thought, maybe I seduced him. Like, maybe I'm just really sexy. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it really messed up her boundaries between herself and men. Before this happened, she was a bubbly, popular kid. She was a good student. But by middle school and after this went on and they moved into the house and all that happened, she became very withdrawn. And she had new kinds of friends, but she wanted to be alone a lot. And it's just all like classic abuse, reaction.
Right.
So Amy was arrested and charged for attempted murder. 1992, mind you, her bail was set for $2 million.
That's so much money.
Which is, it's the most at the time that Nassau County, where I'm from, ever put out as bail. And this is the same place where they tried the Gotti family, like including them. Like Amy was the biggest threat ever. Mm-hmm. They had no way to pay the amount. Like the parents had a couple of $100,000 in their savings. They could sell their business and maybe get another couple of $100,000. Like it was just going to bankrupt them. They didn't know what they were going to do. And the guy that's Amy's lawyer here is a real shithead. I'm not going to say his name, but I don't like this guy. He, though, has the idea. He goes on TV and he pitches, anybody that wants to buy the rights to Amy's story, I will be the lawyer for it. And the person with the highest bid will win the story. And that's how they got the money to bail her out.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That actually explains a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it also created a media frenzy. So the people that didn't get the bid, they then went to the Buttafuocos, or they went to a reporter and gave her the money. So there were 3 Amy Fisher movies that came out between December.
Totally remember this.
1992 and March of 1993. Two of them happened on one night. One starred Drew Barrymore and the other starred Alyssa Milano. And one came from the side of Amy and the other came from the side of Joey. And it's bananas, but this all really did happen.
Did you watch them?
Of course I did.
Yeah. Do you have one that you like better than the other?
I always liked Drew Barrymore.
I remember watching both of these at some point and also preferring the Drew Barrymore one.
The Alyssa Milano one is the one where it's the Buttafuocos that are telling the story. And it's like...
That must be why.
And she's like climbing all over him like, come on, let's have an affair. It's like really...
Let's have an affair.
Let's have an affair. Let's keep calling it an affair. I'm like, he's an old man. Okay. At the same time, it's getting harder and harder to believe Joey's story in all this. First of all, he spent part of the 80s in the drug scene and knew where you could buy and sell anything you wanted in Long Island. He also frequented the strip clubs on a regular basis and knew about the escort service business on Long Island. The stories about him and Amy are lurid, and everyone is talking to the media. All of their friends start selling out and giving interviews. Joey decides the smart thing for him to do is to call Howard Stern's radio show.
Oh, boy.
Howard Stern, I am a fan, but I agree he could be a total... There's certain things he's said and done in the past, total creep. And he still has a little...
He's going to come up again.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he will. But at that time, Howard even says, I was an asshole. I just wanted ratings. I would do anything for ratings. I didn't care who I hurt. I didn't care anything. So Joey Buttafuoco calls the show. They're all laughing at him like, of course you had sex with this girl. He's like, no. I've always wanted to have a 37-year-old girlfriend. Now I'm married to a hot 37-year-old. Like, wait, what? Yeah. So Joey calls Howard and denies everything about Amy, and he claims that she's crazy, that she's been following him for over a year. This doesn't help him in the media, and so his wife starts taking over the press requests. She declines any interview that says that they can't mention her injuries, because a lot of people just want to talk about the sex stuff, and they don't want to talk about what happened to her. This woman wound up deaf in 1 year because of the bullet wound that's stuck in her head still. She had such inner ear damage that it made hard for her to stand up straight without feeling dizzy. Half of her face was paralyzed. She couldn't smile for over 20 years because of the trauma and everything. And this is on top of the trauma of just like somebody shooting you at your house.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and she's still married to that guy, so she probably didn't have a lot to smile about anyway.
Yeah, no shit. People are on to Mary Jo and they keep asking her, like, do you really believe Joey didn't sleep with this girl? Are you really believing Joey's story? She's yes. She defended him and defended him and defended him. And I think she said she was just this nice Catholic girl from Long Island. And she said they didn't have any, she said, I didn't see a big fault in our marriage. We talked all the time. He was always checking in. We were always hanging out, but he was sleeping with this teenager and they were going to motel after motel, like night after night. I mean, I don't understand. But anyway, so this was in the summer of 92. And in America, we had a couple of shows that were super tabloidy. One was called A Current Affair and the other was called Hard Copy.
Oh, boy.
And the biggest coup for Hard Copy was when they got a tape from one of Amy's boyfriends, a 30-year-old guy who owned a gym in Massapequa. His name was Paul Makeley. Sometimes they said they were just good friends, but they were fucking, let's be clear. Mm-hmm. But anyway, on the tape, she says that she wanted them to get married so that he could come and have conjugal visits with her in jail. And she says, but I want to fight for the right to party. No.
We all want that.
On the tape, she says she wanted to challenge the right for conjugal visits in prison for just married people. She wanted to make a big stink out of it so that the media would come back and it would keep her name in the press because she wanted to make a lot of money with her notoriety. She said, if I'm going to go through all this pain and suffering, I'm getting a Maserati. I know.
Maserati.
Another guy that who paid to have sex with her videotaped them, and he also sold his tape to the media. Yeah, he's a real scumbag.
Creep.
Yeah, Joey's still lying, but it looks as if he's the one who introduced Amy to the whole thing of being a sex worker and to make extra cash because he was going broke paying for all the motels and the meals and shit like that. So there's this thinking that he really is the one that introduced her. Because how else would she find out? I mean, she's 17.
Right.
16. So on December 2nd, 1992, now 18 years old, Amy was sentenced to 5 to 15 years for first-degree assault. At the time and to this day, she never admits to shooting the gun. She claims it's an accident. She claims, I just wanted to hit her with it. I didn't mean to shoot her, which is, come on, Amy.
Yeah.
Give me a break.
You were doing it wrong then.
Yes. She serves 7 years. That's in the long run. And on the long run, Mary Jo forgives her and speaks at her parole hearing. But anyway, Amy also testifies because the New York District Attorney is like, why the hell is Joey Buttafuoco walking around free? This man was having sex with a minor. You know, he probably introduced her to this lifestyle. Why is he getting away scot-free? So Amy testifies at his trial for statutory rape. And it turns out his favorite place to cheat was at the certain motel where they asked him to fill out an invoice. And he wrote his actual name and his business address and the date on these invoices. And he thought they wouldn't keep them because he paid in cash.
LOL.
So they had all this evidence. So he basically had to plead guilty. And he served 4 actual months.
I thought you were going to say 4 hours.
Yeah.
4 hours.
4 months for child rape, basically. So when he gets out, he and Mary Jo moved to Southern California, and she's still defending him. In a couple of years, he's arrested in L.A. for soliciting for sex. But finally, in 2003, Mary Jo sues him for divorce. And she goes on to write a bestseller.
Finally, Mary Jo.
It's called Getting It Through My Thick Skull. And she just...
Oh, my gosh.
Basically, she realized her husband was a sociopath. Like, he fit every, descriptor of a sociopath. And that he totally took advantage of her, took advantage of Amy, took advantage of anybody, right? So she remarries in 2012, but sadly her second husband passes away in 2018 to cancer. Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer.
Mary Jo is her non-creep, by the way. Just so you know.
Yeah, she didn't do anything wrong.
No, she was just living her life, just being herself.
Yeah.
Amy married and had 3 children. She married an ex-cop. His name was Lou Ballera. In October of 2007, Lou sold a sex tape of theirs to Red Light District Video without her permission.
Jesus.
She
fucking asshole.
This poor girl is like assholes aplenty in her life. Anyway, she tried to sue them, but after a while, it was they eventually settled because after a while they're reprinting so many copies. Like you might as well make money, like Pam and Tommy Lee. So she settles and she's going to do a publicity tour to promote it. And one of her media stops is the Howard Stern show. They don't get one question in where they take a caller to ask Amy the first question, and it's Mary Jo's son.
Oh.
And he demanded that she apologize for almost killing his mother. She refused and left the interview early. Like she just got the hell out of there.
Yeah.
She is no longer in the sex business. Joey spent the last 25 years getting arrested a few times, and he and Amy eventually reunited First in 2006 at the coin toss for the lingerie bowl.
Oh my God.
And then they
Awesome.
pretended to have a romance to get a reality show, but it never went off the ground.
Ew.
Yeah, I know. It's really...
That's really gross.
Yeah, it's really gross. Anyway, so that's our creep today from the 90s. Our first creep of the 90s, tabloid creep, Joey Buttafuoco.
He's such a fucking creep.
He's such an asshole.
What a creep.
He's perfect for the show.
He really is. Oh my God, he's such a prick. That's our other podcast. What a prick.
What a shithead.
Speaking of pricks, are you ready to hear about our next one?
Oh, yes.
Okay. We're going to talk about John Wayne Bobbitt, and my sources are Rolling Stone, Newsweek, the New York Times, Vanity Fair, Lorena. It is a documentary series on Amazon Prime, and Wikipedia. Always Wikipedia. And the trigger warnings are rape, domestic violence, and penis removal. So removal. I was like, what's a good word? Castration, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I went with penis removal. In 1993, Lorena and John Wayne Bobbitt, the scandal, it was like a tabloid dream. A woman cut off a man's penis. Spoilers, in case you don't know this one. She cut off a man's penis and she threw it out a window. And every late night talk show made fun of this story, and the tabloids covered every inch of this case. The headline, so to speak. I love my puns. The headlines practically write themselves. It was a sensational story, but I think what kind of got missed in a lot of this is the fact that John Wayne Bobbitt was really an abusive monster. So let's start at the beginning. John Wayne Bobbitt met Lorena Gallo. She was a recent immigrant from Venezuela in 1988. They met at a Marine Corps officers ball. He was in the Marines at the time. She was 19 and he was 22. And he asked her to dance. And she had never even danced with a man before. Aww. He thought she looked innocent and shy, and he really supposedly liked her and gave her his phone number, and they started dating. And after 10 months of dating, John and Lorena got married in 1989, and they moved to Manassas, Virginia. I think I pronounced it right. Manassas? Is that right? I don't know. I don't know. Manassas? Is it Manassas?
Sassafras?
Sassafras? They moved to Sassafras, Virginia. And just 1 month into their marriage, he started physically abusing her. After he left the Marines, he struggled for a long time to find a job, and she was like the breadwinner. She was working as a manicurist, and they started fighting a lot. And during those fights, it just escalated. At first, it was verbal, and then pretty soon he was punching her, and he would choke her during these fights. He's a real asshole, everybody. John was sexually, physically, and emotionally abusing her. Neighbors and coworkers would later testify in court that they saw her bruised and battered. They heard her screaming from inside the apartment that she and John shared. And two of his friends, nice friends, by the way, they testified that John would brag about liking to make women, quote, squirm and bleed during sex. He's such a fucking prick. Lorena said that, he was abusive, and that he also would cheat on her constantly, and he would flaunt his infidelities in front of her. And he at one point even forced her to get an abortion. She was living in constant fear of him. And he told her that if she tried to leave him, he would have her deported. And he threatened her. He said, I will find you wherever you are, whether we're divorced or separated. I will find you, and I will have sex with you whenever I want to. Yeah, he's really awful. So after years of abuse, she snapped. So on June 23rd, 1993, John Wayne Bobbitt went out with his friends, and he came home drunk, and he raped Lorena. And after he fell asleep, she got out of bed and went to the kitchen and got a drink of water. And then she grabbed an 8-inch carving knife on the kitchen counter, returned to their bedroom, pulled back the sheets, and cut off his penis.
Wow.
After this, I know, it's if you haven't seen the documentary, it's really, really crazy. She details everything. It's pretty graphic. After this, she got in the car and she left the apartment. Or I should say she left the apartment, got in the car. And she had the penis with her. I'm sorry, I don't mean to giggle, but she had the penis with her. And she was driving along and realized that she still had this penis with her, and she just threw it like out the window. And she kind of realized that she's done something really fucked up, and she stopped and she called 911. She told them what happened, and she gave them like her best guess of where they could maybe find the penis. They found John Bobbitt's penis in a field, and they placed it in a hot dog container with ice that they got from the local 7-Eleven. And then they rushed it to the hospital, and it was reattached. This story was huge. Yeah. It was in every tabloid, the National Enquirer, hard copies, the Current Affairs, all this stuff. And there were 2 trials. A lot of people don't remember this. There were 2 trials. The first trial was John Bobbitt was charged with marital rape. I think you could just call it rape, but then it was called marital rape. He was acquitted. At the time, marital rape was only recently turned like a crime. This wasn't a thing before that. And it was nearly impossible to prove. So he was acquitted. But the case really brought to attention the issue of domestic violence and marital rape, also known as rape. And all these anti-domestic violence advocates and feminist groups, they really came out to support Lorena. And during her trial, she's sitting on the stand. It's really, she's so little. She's like 90 pounds or something. And she's just detailing all these years of abuse. It's so awful. And then inside the courtroom, outside the courtroom, it's all LOL, she cut off his penis, all these jokes, shirts that say love hurts with a knife on it, and shirts that say a cut above the rest, and just fucking bananas. And of course the joke was on all these people because after 7 hours of deliberation, the jury found Lorena not guilty due to insanity. And she could not be held liable for her actions. And she only did 45 days, in a state hospital. And she was released shortly after that. And then the media kind of moved on after that. Tonya Harding, her and her man, Jeff Gillooly, thank you. That happened right after this. So everyone got distracted by a shiny new scandal and kind of moved on. But after the trials, Lorena went back to work as a manicurist, and then she worked for a while doing hair, and she sold real estate. And she went to community college, remarried, had a kid. She started a nonprofit for domestic violence victims, and she turned down $1 million to pose for Playboy.
Wow.
But our creep, on the other hand, went a totally different way. So a year after he got his penis cut off, John decided to cash in and make porn movies. So he made John Wayne Bobbitt Uncut. Oh, God. I'm sure you saw it, right? No, I have not seen it. By the way, I don't think making porn makes you a creep, but
no, or liking porn. No,
it's him. Just he never admits to what he did wrong, and he then tries to cash in every way possible on the fame he got for this. So he does his porn movies. There's the Uncut. There's one called Buttman at Nudes and Frankenpenis. Frankenpenis. I'm sure it's great. In 1994, he did 15 days in jail for battery after striking a 21-year-old former exotic dancer. She was an exotic dancer that he met in Vegas while he was on a publicity tour for his dirty movies, for his porn movies. After he was released from jail, he went on a tour, and he would host cheesy events at strip clubs. And he frequently went on Howard Stern.
Oh, yes. Yep. This is where Howard is creepy.
Yeah, and while he was on there, he'd be like promoting these like penis enhancement surgeries and stuff like that. And then Howard would say things like he didn't think John Wayne Bobbitt was guilty, and he said, "I don't buy that he was raping her. She's not that great looking."
Yeah, this is where Howard's an asshole.
Yeah, and like you said, he admits that, you know, he was really being a real fucking creep then. So in the late 90s, John Wayne Bobbitt moved to Vegas. He worked as a bartender and a limo driver, a mover. He was a pizza delivery guy. He was a tow truck operator. He worked at the famed Bunny Ranch brothel as a greeter, but he was such a piece of shit there that he was fired.
He didn't have to do anything, right? He just had to just hang out at a bar, right? And he couldn't do that.
He couldn't even do that. He was like menacing to the management, and he would drink too much on the job. He also worked for a while at a wedding chapel, marrying people, like a minister at the Universal Life Church. And I just was wondering, who wants to be married by a wife beating drunk?
Yeah. That's not the happy way you want to start your life together.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, teach their own, but come on.
Get an Elvis impersonator.
Yeah, seriously. I'm like, get that creep to marry.
Exactly.
In 1999, John Wayne Bobbitt was sentenced to probation after he tried stealing some shit from a store in Nevada. I couldn't find what he tried to steal, but he got busted. He got caught stealing in Nevada.
This is very 90s.
So 90s. He was arrested on battery charges in 2003 and 2004 involving his then wife, Joanna Farrell. They were divorced in 2004. In the Lorena documentary, there's this interview where she talks about how at one point he like tied her to a bed and raped her repeatedly over several days. He was convicted and he spent time in jail for that.
Ugh.
Yeah. He's a real fucking monster. In 2014, he was in a car accident in Buffalo, New York, and it was serious enough that he got a huge he got a huge settlement. Mm-hmm. And so he hasn't been working for a long time because he's just kind of living off his settlement. And when asked about Lorena, like, he claims that he never abused her.
Like, to this day.
Yes, to this day. He still claims that he never abused her. He claims that he never abused anybody. But her in particular, he says, she was always the abuser, and she cut off my penis because I was going to leave her.
Oh, sure.
Yes, that's totally something women do. He's such a fucking creep. So even though she cut off his penis and they're divorced and he's been married 2 more times, this fucking creep still sends Lorena love letters and around Valentine's Day every year.
Oh my God.
Just to be a fucking prick. And in the documentary series, Lorena, it's linked in the show notes, she reads a few of them, and he says shit about like how he's still in love with her. She's the love of his life. How he, quote, deeply regrets the way he treated her, and that he also then encourages her to get back together with him because they would make a lot of money if they did.
Oh, God.
Because it's all about the money.
Yeah.
And that's our creep, John Wayne Bobbitt.
Holy shit. They happen right next to each other, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was right after one after the other. It's
insane. And I highly recommend the documentary series. It is so interesting because it's about like what a fucking abusive monster he is, but also it talks a lot about everything that happened around it and how, you know, she didn't get a fair shake.
No.
In the media at the time. He really tried to play up this idea that like she was like a hot-blooded, Latina, and that like somehow he was wronged, and and she was so little. There's like no way that she could be abused. Like, it's just fucking bananas. But there was a lot of women at the time in the 90s and early 2000s, as we talked about in our episode about Britney Spears, that didn't get a fair shake in the media. These things were not covered in a sensitive way.
Oh, God, no.
No, the Amy Fisher story was absolutely not covered in a sensitive way. This was not covered in a sensitive way. Even the stuff with Tanya Harding after this was not covered. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
He's such a prick. He's still like, nah, I didn't do anything wrong. I hate people like that.
Yeah. He doesn't learn anything.
Mm-mm.
Well, that's the episode, you guys.
I would say that Lorraine is not a creep.
Yeah,
absolutely. If we want to end it with people who aren't creeps, like she started a nonprofit for domestic violence survivors. She's really good about going on speaking tours when you could do those things. By the way, you can't right now, but to try to help people. Mm-hmm. And I think, that's really awesome.
No, it is. And Mary Jo is my non-creep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you like the sound of our voices, we also co-host a show called Dorking Out, and that's where we dork out about movies. And what's the next movie that we're going to be doing, Sonia?
Married to the Mob.
I'm excited.
I haven't seen Married to the Mob in a while. It played at my movie theater, and I really loved it at the time, so I'm excited to rewatch it. And our good friend Adam Risky is going to join us, and we love talking to Adam.
Adam's the funniest.
So fun.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
He's so great. So once again, please follow us on all the social media things. We love it when you use the Annie Potts gift from Ghostbusters. We got one. When you have ideas for creeps or non-creeps, remember that. On Twitter at CreepPod. Please follow our Instagram. Our email is whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Patreon. Then you get bonus episodes, bonus content. It's just bonus. We drink. We really spill the tea. It's so much fun.
We're extra salty.
Extra salty.
Extra salty.
And wherever you get your podcasts, if you could leave us a review, that would be amazing. And we'll be back next week with our new episode. But in the meantime, everybody, stay safe and don't be a creep.
Creep. Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.